We've got everyone. So we'll make a start on today's webinar. Welcome everybody to our last event of 2021. We've been running these short sessions all year since the 1st of January. We've been doing them fortnightly, and this is our last one, which is just going to talk about the changes for importers from the 1st of January next year. The webinar will be recorded and we will share the slides after today's session. I'm Amy Swindles. I'm the Head of International Professional Services at Greater Manchester Chamber, looking after our customs and compliance services. So what we're going to cover today, so I'm just going to give you, for those who are new to the Chamber, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to the Chamber, what we do, how we can support exporters and importers. I'm going to provide a current overview of the rules and how everything's worked this year. What will change as of the 1st of January and the changes that will come about later in 2022, and what actions you need to take as importers, and then how the Chamber can support that. We will have a short Q&A session at the end. Anything that we can't answer in today's session, we will take obviously offline and pick that up with you. Any questions that you've got throughout the session, please feel free to post them in the Q&A or the chat box. I've got colleagues online that will manage that throughout today's webinar, and then anything left at the end we can take in the Q&A session. So for those of you who don't know who we are, Greater Manchester Chamber is a membership organisation. We are the largest accredited Chamber of Commerce in the UK, covering all 10 local authority areas in Greater Manchester, with over 4,200 members. In terms of international contacts, we have a global network that covers around 90 countries. So we can help, whether that be you be exporting, importing, looking to set up overseas, and also international companies looking to come to the UK and do business here. As of this year, we've been also supporting with the customs clearance side of things. So for both export and import, again, in addition to our documentation services, we can now clear your goods at any port or airport in the UK. We do have a wide range of services that scope from helping you get ready to export and import, to finding suppliers, customers overseas. We offer a wide range of training services and customs advisory services. And then I'm sure some of you may have already used us for documentation, things like ATA Carney, certificates of origin, EUR1 documents. Anything that needs legalising via embassies, you can talk to ourselves and we'll arrange that for you. Like I already mentioned, we do offer customs clearance and also transit services, which I'll touch on a little bit later in today's presentation. And then all the way through to actually getting paid. So whether that be FX, collecting unpaid debt, insurance to protect yourselves from bad debt, we can help with that, and also letters of credit. So I'm just going to hand over to my colleague Eibr, who's just going to launch a short poll for you to answer now.
Thank you, Amy. So you should be able to see the first poll on your screen now. And what we would like to know is, what have you considered in terms of customs with the EU? Whether you're completing your customs declarations in-house, or you're using a brokerage services, or if you're not doing anything at the moment. So we'll just give it a minute for everyone to answer, and then we'll share the results. So we've got 33% completing customs declarations in-house, 50% using customs brokerage services, and 17% are not doing anything about it at the moment. Perfect. Over to you, Amy.
Thanks, Eibr. So for those of you who aren't doing anything about it, hopefully today's presentation will help you and give you some steps that you can get arranged ready for the 1st of January. So just a recap on the past year and the procedures that came into play following that signing of the TCA. So from the 1st of January, the government introduced a staged approach to customs procedures. So to help help companies get prepared. As you know, when we signed that trade agreement, customs declarations and documentation was required. So in terms of imports, full declarations have been required this year for controlled goods. However, if you have non-controlled goods, you have been able to delay your declarations for up to 175 days. What you may have realised is that actually goods that are imported come into the UK and they suddenly arrive at your warehouse and you're like, has the clearance been done? That's the simplified procedures we've been operating. So the goods could get all the way to your warehouse and actually then you realise they've not been cleared. As of the 1st of January, that will not happen. So please ensure you have got something in place and an agent in place to help you with that paperwork. Some companies have been filing the full declarations all year. So we've been operating something called postponed VAT accounting. That's for all imports, not just EU. So that's where you can, you don't have to pay your VAT at the border at the time of clearance. You can put that on your VAT return. And you get the statements from HMRC. So some companies, if you're importing goods of EU origin and you're postponing the VAT, they've actually been completing the full declaration as and when the goods arrive in the UK. But there's been no requirement to what we call pre-lodge that declaration prior to the goods arriving at the UK border. So like we said, goods can get in and all the way to the point of your warehouse, and then you actually realise they've not been cleared. In terms of exports, full declarations have been required. So you have been needing an export customs clearance all year. But again, we've been operating some simplified procedures, so there's not been any checks and things. So the goods have been getting out again to the EU quite freely. And there is going to still be a delay on the export health certificates. So things like products of animal origin, you won't need an export health certificate until July 2022. A little bit more time for that. Okay, so I've just put here things that will change next year. So we, in the 1st of April, this has been moved from the 1st of April this year to the 1st of October, and it'll now be the 1st of January 2022. So there will be a requirement for import pre-notification for specific products. So things like products of animal origin, animal byproducts, plants products that will be required from the 1st of January. So if you're importing products of animal origin and you've not registered via the IPAS system, then you will need to do so, and that needs to be completed for at least 4 hours in advance of the shipment arriving in the UK. If anyone's struggling with that, we've got some guidance, we've got some videos and how-to guides, so please let us know. We can also include those in the follow-up. And I think there's been a little bit of confusion as well, because we've got guidance from Deferred saying you don't need to do anything to July 2022, and then HMRC saying you do need to do things from the 1st of January. So there is still some things that need to be done in terms of imports. So not everything is being delayed till July. In terms of general imports, full import customs declarations will be required prior to the goods leaving the EU, and I'm going to talk you through how that will work in a couple of slides' time. Intrastat will now only be required for Northern Ireland to the EU. There's changes with supplier declarations. So if you're importing goods and you're re-exporting those goods in the of EU origin, you will now need supplier declarations in place to ensure that you have proof of origin if asked for it. So this year, a statement on the invoice has been sufficient to say that you declare the products. Going forward, you will need the evidence to back that up. And again, we've got some useful guides on our website, which we can share in the follow-up with further guidance on that. And there will also be commodity code changes. So there is a refresh of commodity codes at the end of each year. There will be changes, so please watch out for that coming up in the next month. So when you come back, commodity codes might have changed. Also, just be aware that for export, we do use the 8-digit commodity code, but for imports, we use 10 digits. So those last 2 digits might not always just be 00. That might not be valid in our tariff. So do check. Your suppliers may be giving you 8 digits, but you are required to have the 10 for the import, because that determines the duty rate. So again, please double check that. And then from the 1st of July, so we've got a little bit longer, that will be when the UK introduces import safety and security declarations, and we'll have the export health, sanitary and phytosanitary certificates requirement before leaving the EU. So we've got a phased approach on the products of animal origin and plant products all the way through till November next year. So as and when we receive further guidance from the government, we'll obviously put together articles and things to help you with that. So just a recap of from the 1st of January till the 30th of June. So consignments can enter via any point of entry. So they don't necessarily have to come through a border control point if you're importing products of animal origin. There will be no new checks. So the government has said there will be no new checks on other products. You can still use transit documents, and products under safeguard will still require those notifications. That's just in bold, a little recap from the earlier slide. Now we've also got the introduction, you may have heard this, of Gvms, so the Goods Vehicle Movement Service. This is a UK government IT platform, and it's been introduced for certain ports in the UK that don't have the systems in place for the EU import. So this is why we've had this year kind of transitioning, and this will be brought in to support the ports and goods coming in from the EU. Now, it is the haulier's responsibility to complete the Gvms, and I'll talk you through how that'll work shortly. I've put a link there to the guidance, which the government has published in 10 languages. They are also running webinars as well on how to register and taking hauliers through that. Foreign hauliers must also register that service. You don't need to be a UK company to register, but you need to please make sure that the hauliers are aware of this system and have registered, because it will be a requirement of the import process. So how is it going to work from the 1st of January in terms of import? You will request a pre-lodged import declaration from your customs agent or your freight agent. And that declaration will automatically generate an entry number or an E&O. And you will then need to share that with your freight agent or your supplier, and who will then send it on to the haulier or the freight agent. This obviously does depend on your responsibilities, so what you're responsible for and what your supplier in the EU is responsible for. The government have then designed this Gvms system, which the import entry will be put into for each consignment, and the specific vehicle will then be given what we call a GMR number. And that's what they need to cross the border. Without that number, they will not be able to board the ferry and depart the EU. I've just put that in bold there. Then what happens is, once the goods board onto the ferry, the Gvms will automatically arrive those goods in the UK system, and duties and taxes will be taken on the goods entering the UK. They'll then be classed as cleared, and they'll be able to go onward either to a border control facility or onto your premises or the end customer. Hopefully this explains it a little bit better. So again, like I say, it does depend on your responsibilities. So who's responsible for the export clearance, who's responsible for arranging the transport, who's responsible for completing the import clearance. So make sure both yourselves and your EU customers and suppliers are aware of that. So the declaration will be completed, the export declaration will be completed in the EU. And at that point, you can also then pre-lodge your import declaration and provide that E&O number to your supplier or agent. The goods can then depart from the EU supplier onwards to the port, and the agent or haulier will raise the GMR number. Once that's been raised, the driver can present the GMR to the EU port, and they'll be able to board the transport. And then as the transport is crossing the channel, the GMR will activate the arrival, and then duties, taxes accounted for. Any potential checks, then they hit the UK, maybe any potential checks, or if not, then delivery of the goods on to the end user. In terms of what you need to do, so please make sure you have a customs agent in place. We can help you at the Chamber. I know companies having issues if the supplier's organising the transport, they just need someone to handle the customs declarations. We can do that. We can liaise with your freight agents as well if you need us to. Speak to your European suppliers, so ensure that you've got all the information required for customs purposes, so things like EORI numbers, commodity codes, origin of goods, Incoterms. Speak to your hauliers to make sure they're prepared. Like I said, the guidance is available on gov.uk that you can send through to them on how they need to prepare. And do confirm responsibilities with your suppliers, hauliers and agents. So make sure you do relay those Incoterms. What are you responsible for? What's your supplier responsible for? Who's organising the freight? Who's organising all the clearance? To be as prepared as you can be with that. Like I said, we can help you with the clearance. We have direct access to all road, sea and air terminals. If you want more information on that, you can email us there, or we've got a short survey which will include in the follow-up that you can complete. And we do still have capacity for that. As well, just to let you know, in terms of transit T1 documents, I'm not sure if that's something you're aware of. So a transit of T1 document is used when you go across multiple EU member states. So for example, if you're entering via France, but you don't want to clear goods and pay the taxes in France, you want to pay them in Italy, for example, then you can use a transit or a T1 document to cover you, and then your customer can then clear those goods when they get to Italy. So again, we can provide that at the Chamber. You also need an insurance guarantee on that in case the customer doesn't clear the goods and pay the necessary taxes. And again, we can provide that via our third-party partner. We have got a new platform. So if you're looking that you want to complete customs declarations yourself, whether that be export or import, we've got a platform here which is easy to use. You can upload a spreadsheet, you can upload your invoice, your packing list, and give us some more information. We will then check that from our side. We'll do the technical bits, and then we'll send you the clearance and that entry number that you need. So we'll have an online platform. Again, if you want more information, we're ready to launch that in January. And I'm just going to hand over to Gail of this. I think we've just got one last poll on transit.
Yes, you should be able to see it now on your screens. And the question is if you are using transits or T1s at the moment. So we'll give it a minute for everyone to answer, and then we'll share the results. All right, so we've got 17% who are using T1s, 50% are not, and 33% are unsure.
So yeah, like we said, those documents are used for when you want to travel across multiple EU countries, but not clear and pay taxes in every country. So if you're unsure or you think that it might be required again, please feel free to speak to one of the team and we can help you out with that. I've just put up, like I said, this is the last event of the year from our side. Our next bite-sized session, I think we'll probably go to monthly or every couple of months from January, will be on immigration. So might not be relevant for you, but if you've got any colleagues, and we'll also have an event on how to sell your products through online platforms, including the Eibr platform as well. And there you can see lots of training courses. We've introduced some new training courses on Egypt and the new Cargo X platform, and also how to get approved exporter status, because we've been getting questions through on those. And we do step-by-step workshops on all documentation. So if you're wanting any more information on each box of documentation and what to put, we do offer workshops and all of that. And that's it from me. What we are going to do is send some further guidance in the follow-up. If we hear anything else from government in the next week with any changes, we'll obviously keep you informed. We will be sending further guidance to all our chamber clients as well on what they need to do, what their suppliers need to do, and what their agents and hauliers need to do. And obviously, if you've got any agent and hauliers that we need to send those further links to and webinars to on the Gvms system, please do let us know and we can share those. But I think we'll see if we've got any questions, Shirley.
We haven't got any so far, but if you have a question, please feel free to drop it on the chat or on the Q&A box at the bottom. We'll just give it a second to see if anyone has any questions. So we've got a question, Amy, and it is, how prepared are EU businesses for these changes?
I think it depends who you're talking to and how prepared that some of the UK companies have prepared their suppliers. I know I've been speaking to a couple of companies who are really prepared. They're instructing, you know, how many working days they need to be sent information to. And then I've got other large manufacturers, engineering companies who are emailing me saying the hauliers are not going to have a clue about this, you know, and neither are the EU suppliers. So we're doing our best to work with those companies that need support as well. Like we said, I think some of the government guidance has been a little bit conflicting. So I know at a national level, the British Chambers of Commerce are currently working with some of the government departments to refresh that guidance and make it a little bit more user-friendly, and hopefully we can share that. But yes, we've got little time to prepare. In terms of from our side, what we see for clearances is, you know, we're sent things on a Friday, very late on a Friday, the goods arriving on Sunday. So things like that are going to have to change. I think somebody said to me that one of their agents was saying 4 working days in terms of how they needed all the information. So I don't think everybody's prepared yet. I think in terms of some of the surveys we've been doing, there's still things we can do to help companies in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
I don't think I've got any. So in terms of what you can do, like you said, please speak to your suppliers in the EU to make sure they're aware of that. You know, they won't be able to board transport unless they have these numbers, and drivers will experience delays. There is also some guidance as well, specifically for drivers on what they need to do, where they need to report to, all on the gov.uk website, which we can share.
We've got another question, and it's regarding the digits on the commodity codes. And someone saying, we export to the EU and provide an invoice to the end customer with the commodity code on that invoice. Should we quote 8 or 10-digit codes?
I think it depends on your preference. When we see goods coming into the UK, quite often EU suppliers will just quote 8 digits, and then the UK company will confirm the last 2, because it could be different in duty rates, or, you know, at the minute we're still using the EU commodity code system. So if you put 10 digits, it would be the same. As of Jan, it might not necessarily be the same. So if your supplier is happy with the 8, I think that's fine, and they can determine the last 2 at their end.
All right, we've got another question from Chris. And are there any ways of producing deferred declarations using Eibr in 2022? Or are these options finished from January unless we use CFSP?
Yeah, there is a requirement from Jan that you do require that pre-lodged declaration, Chris, I'm afraid. Had a similar question the other day, so it will still be required, that full declaration to get your goods in.
Right, I think there are no more questions.
Great. So thank you everyone for joining us. We'll send you some more information in the follow-up. Any questions, please just get back in touch with the team, and we'll take this opportunity to wish you all a lovely Christmas and hopefully see you all in 2022. Thanks for joining.